This episode of On the Record is brought to you by Associated Equipment Distributors. I'm Executive Editor Kim Schmidt. Welcome to On the Record. Here's an update on what's currently impacting the ag equipment industry. The U.S. Department of Commerce announced on August 15th that it would be adding 407 new tariff lines to the Section 232 steel and aluminum tariff list. This includes many items made by farm equipment manufacturers, as well as key components and parts. These items are now subject to a 50% tariff on their steel and aluminum content, effective August 18th. To get the latest on this issue, Managing Editor Christine Book checked in with Daniel Fisher, Senior Vice President of Government and External Affairs at Associated Equipment Distributors. Fisher says this will have a substantial impact on the equipment industry and its customers, unnecessarily driving up costs and creating uncertainty. He shared details of what can be expected in the wake of these items now being subject to a 50% tariff on their steel and aluminum content.
In the immediate term, it creates a great deal of uncertainty. So there was no a waiver or no leeway for if you had ordered the equipment already, or if it was on the boat or was in transit. So really effective August 15th was when this decision was announced. Effective August 18th, these new tariffs took effect. So if you had ordered equipment, you had quoted equipment for a customer, that price was basically no longer valid almost immediately. So of course that creates a lot of uncertainty, certainly raises the cost on dealers purchasing the equipment, and of course the customers who are ultimately going to be the end user of the equipment. It increases compliance costs. These tariffs are extraordinarily hard to understand when you take the reciprocal tariffs. You take the Section 232, in some countries, depending on the country, you may have Section 301 tariffs. Then if you're in the US and Canada, you have the USMCA thing going on. And so it really just adds a great deal of compliance and complexity, which of course has added cost to it as well. And if you're not a major importer, it can be quite confusing. It certainly is confusing for a lot of even customs brokers and others who are still trying to navigate the situation. And of course, it's ultimately going to increase the cost on farmers, dealers, and OEMs when you have this imported equipment that is now subjected to a 50% tariff on the steel and aluminum content, which of course is a significant portion of what the equipment is contained in the equipment.
AED is now focused on action items they're urging OEMs and dealers to take and getting the message to elected officials in Congress to share with the Trump administration.
Obviously, the ag sector has been hit particularly hard in recent times. This will only increase costs on the customers, and it's just imperative that the entire equipment industry weigh in with their lawmakers and educate them about the impact this will have. And the hope is that a groundswell on Capitol Hill appears, and that there's some pushback against the administration in terms of this expansive list of derivative products that are now included in the Section 232 tariffs.
This week's dealer on the move is Side Instructor Nobi Partners. The John Deere dealer has assumed the responsibility of 5 dealerships located in the southern tier of New York and northern Pennsylvania, following the closure of the current John Deere dealer, Port Cray, New York-based Lindsay Equipment. Now here's Noah Newman with the latest from the Technology Corner.
Thanks a lot, Kim. So one manufacturer I spoke with at the Farm Progress Show a few weeks ago said that, it's been a tough year economically for a lot of people in the ag equipment space, but he pointed to the drone industry as one that's doing better than others, and that definitely seemed to be the case at the Agri-Spray Drones tin, as founder Taylor Moreland had his hands full showing off the new EA Vision J150 drone to hundreds of attendees. And Taylor said he wanted to make sure this new model was battle tested before introducing it. That's why he brought one to the show with over 11,000 acres on it.
You know, every drone brought to market, every spray drone brought to market, whenever it's announced, nobody's tested it, right? It's just brought to market, comes from China or wherever it's come from, and they don't use drones like we do. They're tested there. They don't use them like we do here in the U.S. We've learned that over our many years in this industry. So what we wanted to do is, before we actually launched it, let's get over 10,000 acres on at least one unit, and then let's run at least a couple dozen with other operators doing real-world application. So actually, since June, there have been several dozen flying out in the field with different operators. This is our personal one right there, and we said if we're not spraying for a customer doing fungicide or cover crop or whatever, then we're just going to be spraying water, and we're just trying to rack up hours on it. What's going to break first, right? I just want to know what is going to break first before we launch it. So we replaced 2 parts. That's it.
And Taylor says that new drone model can cover up to 65 acres per hour. So yeah, it can cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. In Technology Corner, I'm Noah Newman. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Noah. As of September 10th, corn prices were $4.17, up 30 cents from our last episode. Soybeans closed at $10.25, down 3 cents, and wheat closed at $5.15, up 6 cents. In other tariff news, our South American correspondent Luis Vieira reports that tariffs are hitting the Brazilian ag machinery market hard. The tariffs imposed by the Trump administration at a rate of 50% to Brazilian products will completely interrupt all machinery exports to the American market, according to Cristina Zanella, Director of Competitiveness, Economy, and Statistics at the Brazilian Association of Machinery and Equipment Manufacturers. She says a bigger impact will start this month. Exports will get down to zero. These tariffs have taken out all our competitiveness in the American market, says Zanella. The U.S. represents 26% of Brazilian machinery exports, or $300 million monthly, per data from the association. Zanella says, if you look at all countries, only India had a tariff as high as Brazil received. Some countries have a smaller difference in tariffs due to a high proportion of steel and aluminum. According to the newest Sandhills Global Market reports, asking prices for used tractors and combines on TractorHouse.com and other Sandhills platforms are trending down. Both markets posted monthly and year-over-year decreases in August. Market factors influencing this trend include unchanged interest rates and lower crop prices. Our latest dealer sentiments report confirms the trend. According to the latest data, used equipment pricing was down 7% year-over-year in July versus down 6% in the previous month, with most pricing pressures on combines. Used row crop tractor pricing was down 7% versus down 5% the previous month. Used combine pricing, according to the dealer sentiments report, was down 9%, flat with the previous month. This week's DataPoint is brought to you by the Precision Farming Dealer Summit, coming to St. Louis January 5th and 6th. To learn more and to register, visit precisiondealersummit.com. The Department of Agriculture and Consumer Economics at the University of Illinois tracks machinery costs every 2 years. Its latest update was released earlier this month. It should come as no surprise that estimated costs for most machinery operations are higher in 2025 than in 2023. The majority of the cost increases are associated with higher list prices for machinery. The estimated cost for combining corn is $54.40 per hour, up from $50.70 in 2023 and $37.60 in 2019. For a 590 horsepower tractor, the 2025 estimated cost is $326.80, up nearly $90 per hour since 2019. As always, we welcome your feedback. You can send comments and story suggestions to kschmidt@lestermedia.com. Until next time, I'm Kim Schmidt. Thanks for joining us.